Hey guys, what's up? This quick video, I'm doing a couple things. One is relocating your windshield wiper fluid reservoir, and the other one is side mounting some coolers to your car. Now, of course, you see that I twin turbo the car, and there are some issues regarding the install, but I'll get into that in another video. So anyways, let's go on to the relocate. So obviously this is the factory monstrosity that is your windshield wiper fluid reservoir. In my experience, you don't need something that entirely huge. And it's not going to serve any purpose for a relocate, so I did not use that for the relocate. Well, let me talk about the electrical real quick. So this is my DRL, right? That's what hooks up to, this is a 2015, so that'll hook up to the DRL. But on the same wiring harness, you got a brown wire, or a brown connector, and that's your sensor connector. If it's disconnected, it's not going to report to the dashboard. And then you have a white connector, which I snipped off. It's actually, I put it on right here if somebody might want it. And that is your motor, right? So if you want to be able to run your windshield wiper fluid as normal, right? You got bugs in your windshield, you want to hit the pump and the pump spits stuff out in your car. You run your wires from your relocate position all the way. So this is actually a different wire. So, but the wires that I put in, you'll see it here. I have soldered them in and heat shrinked them and bundled that up. But what I did was I ran it in through here, right? And then I bonded it with this guy. Now, with this kind of hose, you want to be very careful not to pinch it. Because if you pinch it's not going to work, right? And then you've done all the work for nothing. And then I ran it through the grommet. Right? Now I removed these guys and I ran it through here. I ran it inside of here, right? Because to get in here you have to pull all these panels out. Let me get this back in here. I just want to take it off for reference. Wait a minute. I'm glad I did that because this isn't set right again. All right, here we go. Anyways. Yeah, it's a little dirty, the car right now. And then, of course, you're going to run it all the way around, right? And there's some places where you can fasten it and just bring it around here, and you end up here. Let me show you what it looks like. And that's my reservoir. And there's the hookup. Now this isn't, I want to clean that up a bit more, but I mean, I only just put this in here like a week ago, and I've got a lot of projects going on. You'll see there's the fluid. Now you'll say, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Where do you get a reservoir like this? The answer is the junkyard. So you want to find, when you're doing junkyard searching, you want to find something that's got, and you could do your measurements in here if you want or whatever. I kind of just did a hand measurement, and I said, okay, it's my palm, and I come in here and, just try to figure stuff out of where my final height has to be for this thing. I need something I didn't have to do a lot of modification to. If you'll notice, I've got some epoxy going on here. This is just to kind of hold it because it's not a perfect fit, but after I do a few things with some rubber, I'll get it to fit properly. Anyways, you'll see this is modified, right? This looks like it's thing, but that's actually epoxy, kind of keeping that gap. It's easy. You just find something like this with a long snorkel. Chop the snorkel. Hopefully the proportions are the same, and you can do what I did, which is add a little bit of space there, put the top on, boom. And there you have it. And I don't know if I cut that little thing, but I only just put this thing in here not too long ago. Oh yeah, it's some kill mat. Believe it or not, when you put in aftermarket exhaust with a lot of drone, this helps you on the freeway like nobody's business. Anyways, moving on. Oh, and it actually makes your Bose system sound slightly better. I don't even know how that happened. That wasn't the idea, but hey, score for me. Okay. So the idea of this is to kind of keep the car looking OEM. And look at that. I mean, it's flat. It's flat. The only problem is this. So once I find the final position for that, I'll get that in there, and that'll give me, I don't know, it'll give me some rigidity. I don't know if I put stuff in there, it doesn't cave in that plastic tray underneath. Anyways, so on to this. So this is something I put in yesterday. I literally finished putting it in yesterday. So I did this for power steering. Now, if you've ever been on the track, the track is a wonderful place, but it's also a place to kill your car if you don't prep it properly. So one of the things you'll notice when you go to the track is your power steering can boil to no end. Now, I'm not talking about a drag strip. I'm talking about a road course track where you're going lefts and rights all day long at high speeds. You're putting some serious work in on your power steering rack. And one of the most crucial parts of your steering rack is the power steering fluid not boiling. What happens if you boil out your fluid? Well, you eliminate the lubricating qualities of the fluid, and then all of a sudden your power steering starts to go to absolute shit, and then you got to replace it. So this was my solution to upgrade the cooling characteristics of that fluid so that I can maintain the temperature, not boil it out. Because if you've ever been in the track and that you turn off the motor and that's still moving and boiling around, then or bubbling around, you know you're boiling your fluid out. This should stop that. One is you get some Redline D6 power steering fluid. That is complete synthetic fluid. I don't know if I have a jar over here. Oh, there it is. Right there. You buy something like that, and then you pour, you fill it up. But the other thing you do is create this setup. So what I've got here is a Setrab 16 row series 1. This is a spal fan, 4-inch pusher fan. If you want to know why I got a pusher fan instead of a puller fan, well, it's about clearance. I like to try and maintain the clearance. The other thing is, if you've ever looked at a Nissan 370Z you'll notice that there's not a lot of ram air in this location. Now, I do have a track bumper that's the same OEM bumper. It's just I took the DRLs out. I'm going to add some NACO ducts and all the shit. So I will get air. But typically this doesn't get air, so you need to introduce air, right? Quick question, right? You might want to ask is, well, where's it going? Is it going back up to the motor? Well, I've got an answer for that later, and I'll show you that later. So fun fact, your power steering system is 6AN, which means it is 3/8 inner diameter hose, okay? That's something you want to consider when you get your plumbing. Now, I didn't think about it when I did these guys, so I did 8AN fittings, which is 1/2 inch inner diameter, okay? Kind of bit of panic mode when I was hooking it up. I was like, what am I going to do here? And so what I did, can't see it in there, but I bought a reducer from 1/2 inch inner diameter to 3/8 inch inner diameter, so I could just run my 1/2 inch pipe to the 3/8. Now, if there's going to be any consequence to that, it remains to be seen. I don't know. Once I got all the bubbles out of the system, because by the way, at first you're gonna have bubbles. That's just the way it is. You gotta run your system through a little bit, and then you'll get most of the bubbles out, and you'll have pure fluid in your system. It helps not to do it on the road. Just kind of do it in parking lot, turn your steering wheel back and forth, and just kind of just drive around slow doing that. And you can charge the system with fluid. But try to prime it as much as you can. With my upside down setup, it's kind of hard to prime the actual cooler, so it's a bit more of a process. Anyways, so let's go into this. So here, the set trab, obviously you're going to do M22 to 8AN, or in your case, bypass. Whatever I say 8AN, you probably want to do 6AN because that's for this cooler. But I did 8AN, and then I bought a set trab coupler with a takeoff. Now this is a thermostatic switch, and I haven't connected it yet. Here's my wires. What I'm doing is I'm taking the positive from the spal fan, and I'm running it to one of these leads. It's not polars, you can kind of do either one. And then on the other side of it, I'm running this red, and then that's going back to the battery. And of course you want to put, you don't want to max out amperage on this. You want to find a, you don't want to max out amperage on the wire, and you don't want to max out amperage on the fan. So I think this one's about 3.5 amps. What I did was I brought some 16 gauge, and I have a 7.5 amp fuse, so that I can't utterly destroy this thing. And then for the other one, I have a 10 amp, but I'll show you that over there later. And then the black, so for the black, you basically run that straight through. Okay, so that's basically it. And then you just run this through, and then up into where the battery is. Also, and this is where I wired mine. I kind of brought my wiring over to the other side. I'll show you that in a minute. Always have these adjustable clamps. Don't use the OEM clamps, because you're not going to get the clamping power you think, and you might have leaks. And then what are you going to do to put a new clamp in there? You got to it's a pain in the ass. So just do that. Just do it like that. Leave a little space. You're not rubbing hoses. If you think of rubbing other locations, you could probably put some aluminum tape on that so it rubs the aluminum tape. Or find another solution. Maybe you can find some type of metal collar you can do so it doesn't rub. But I don't think there's going to be a rubbing issue. So that was yesterday's. This is the first one I did. Now you'll notice this one is flush, okay, because I have all this space, right? And there's no restrictions. Oh, and by the way, when you do this, you see that right there? I don't know if you can see that, but this really needs to get latched onto here somewhere. So I'm going to be finding a bracket for that. But that's later. This one already have a bracket for the bottom, so it doesn't fling around or do anything. So it's kind of secured on three 3 points kind of. So here you'll see I have my oil cooler. Oh, by the way, I bought a 180 degree a thermostatic switch for that, so it'll turn the fan in at about 180. This one is 200. Now you can get different ones from Setrab. But okay, so moving on. Oh, by the way, you might ask a question. Okay, so where did you get this oil cooler set up? And this is the easiest and best answer, and it made the most sense, is get this from Fast Intentions. It's a kit. It's a 32-row Setrab with 8AN fittings. And the line, basically, believe it or not, what they send you, you don't have to make any modifications. I mean, it was set up to go here behind the, in front of the radiator, but you have enough oil cooler, or excuse me, braided line to get over here without having to buy extra stuff. So keep that in mind. That's how I did it, easiest way. So give you, and if you, in most likely in a setup like this, you also want to get yourself a Mocal thermostatic sandwich plate. Why? Because you want to limit the amount of fluid that comes into this before it gets to a certain temperature. And then your setup starts running, and then you're good. Now the thermostatic sandwich plate doesn't eliminate fluid flow through here at all. Or what it does is restrict it. There's a restrictor in there, and it'll run less, but then it'll open up completely when you're at 180 plus on the Mocal. And that's why I did this at 200, because I don't want that to open and this open, and then it's like going hot to cold all the time. I want to be able to go up about 20 degrees and then keep this between 180 and 200. Now, in a track situation, this is going to be piping hot. It's going to be 220, maybe 230, 240. You definitely want a fan to mitigate some of that heat and bring it down. So you might ask yourself, why didn't you get like a massive fan? Well, this fan, I tested it out on the road and stuff, and this fan does a really good job of mitigating heat. It's got 310 CFM. It's not too bad. I also leave a lot of space for ram airflow. Again, this doesn't get a lot of ram airflow, but you can get air to it, especially if I'm on the track and I use a hood with a vent. So, but I didn't want to try and play with a size fan that was going to come off the side of the thing, and I didn't want that, and I don't want to cut this bit off because it's part of the structural rigidity of the fan shroud deal, or the radiator, whatever. So yeah. If you're wondering about the screws, yeah, I did Dremel this one back, but my bit broke. I didn't finish that. It's not protruding out anywhere important, so I'm not going to bother it right now. My washer's a little weird. I got another washer. It's a bit smaller. I did them right over here. I just got to get the smaller washers over here. I was kind of working with what bits I had in the garage at the time. If anybody knows what this is, let me know in the comments, because I don't know what it is. Therefore, I'm just going to leave it in the OEM position. Otherwise, if I can delete it or move it over here or somewhere else, I will do that. So basically over here is pretty much the same setup as over there. I've got a set trap takeoff. I'm running fast intentions braided line that came with the kit to here, and over there it's basically a 90 degree that goes to the fast intentions braided line. Super simple, right? What's the point of this is that since for any, especially on a track situation, you definitely want full access to your radiator in terms of ram air. You need to keep that cool, because that is, to have this in front of this is just heating both of them up and creating more restriction for air. And now that I have a twin turbo setup and I have this intercooler in front, that is even more of an issue. So of course that, and cooling is the key, not blowing up your car. So remember I was talking to you before about, well, where's the air gonna go? So if you look back here, you'll see I've cut out, geez, I wish I had my, let's go get that so I can show you. Sorry, I don't have a professional editor to do this, so we're just gonna have to watch this raw here. Give me a second while I plug in a light. Okay, so you'll see that this is what's going on here. Now, of course, you're gonna say, well, WTF, you're gonna get rocks all up on your radiator and all that and wreck all your stuff. Granted, that's true. So what I did, again, and let me show you upstairs actually, what I did with that is I got me these guys. So if you're asking where I got this, so I went online and I tried to find me some vented solutions for this. So that was these would be cutouts that I could rivet in. The answer is this particular vent came off the front wheel well of a Kia Alanti. Believe it or not. I mean, I don't know why Kia Alanti needs these on there. But it looked pretty OEM. And these are the ones. And of course I cut them down so that I can rivet them in and go from there. And then you always want some extra plastic, because if you make mistakes, you need to be able to epoxy, rubber, glue, man, or whatever you're gonna do, and then go from there. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. As far as the wiring up here, obviously these are my fuses. I'm getting ready to solder some stuff. It doesn't hurt. You see how I label stuff? It doesn't hurt to label stuff. And for example, this is my power steering fan. If your power steering fan blows up, or something goes on, or it's not getting power, you don't want to do guesswork and try to figure out which one is which. Multimeters are fun, but if you can avoid extra work, then that's what you want to do. I think that's the end of the video. If you have any questions, please leave me a message. Again, it's time consuming, and if you don't disconnect the hoses right on your setup, it can lead to a pretty big mess. But aside from that, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, to put the oil cooler over there, I definitely had to drain the oil. I used a reclaimer for that, which was easier than getting rid of my expensive ass oil. But it's, I mean, it's so plug and play. And this isn't hard because the hoses are already in a really good position too. So, I mean, it's relatively, I mean, the wiring is probably harder than just the install of this stuff. So, and the wiring is not hard at all. So, I mean, yeah. Give me a shout out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm gonna get to doing some soldering here, and call it a day. Go upstairs and enjoy the rest of my Sunday.